Hey guys, we're live on the moon. It's Sunday, 30 October, almost about 15 minutes to 7 in the p.m. My name is Bill Bryson. Live in a little town west of Houston called Richmond. And it's not quite dark yet, not quite totally dark yet. But since my moon this evening is short, I decided I'd come out and do a survey. I wanted to do this survey with 3 lenses. And the first lens here is a 25 millimeter lens on the experimental camera that my friend Mike and I are working on. And as you can see, I have the entire moon in frame. And if you've been watching some of my other videos with my Chinese camera, you'll see that I have a broader picture. When I do the survey with the 5 millimeter, which will be the closest, I'll be concentrating on this shadow line in a lot of these areas, like right in here. See these mountains? You'll see them really up close and personal. Some of these darker areas won't show up as good, but some of these things, like right in here, this should show up really good. You can see that because of the fact that it's not quite dark, it's dusk, you'll see this changing from kind of like a bluish tinge to a black as we get into this survey. And it'll probably be black by the end of the time I get down to the bottom and flip my lenses. I've been pretty impressed with this camera. I know that you haven't seen me in a couple days. My videos haven't been on the YouTube because, quite frankly, we've had a dark moon. It's called a new moon, and I've been waiting for the moon to get better. I was experimenting a little bit with. Now, see, I'll show you a lot of the detail, and see these craters right here with these mountains. These should come in really close with that 5 millimeter if it works. What you see blowing, I'm inside the house, so that's not me stomping on the porch. That's the wind blowing the telescope. There is a little bit of a breeze, and that's my ferret right there, the famous ferret on the moon. See his little beady eyes, and see his little whiskers right there in his mouth. Looks like a ferret, smells like a ferret. He's a ferret. What makes this camera so unique is that I can use different lenses with it. Now, see, I'll be able to show you a lot more detail here on the 5 millimeter and down here. You can see the background getting just a little bit darker. As I said, I've been out of pocket for a couple days because of the. I'll just leave that. I could adjust it. I'm going to leave it go. Everything's set on automatic right now because I'm kind of doing some experiments with this camera. As a matter of fact, I did experiment with the planets. I got in Jupiter in the bands, and you could see it turned out pretty good with this camera. And then a couple nights ago, I even tried the Orion Nebula. See how it's getting darker, guys? That's going from a dusk to a dark. It's still kind of dusk out there. As it gets darker, it'll be a better image. And I have found with this camera I can actually show you uh, nebula and stars. I mean, this camera is really sensitive. Okay, I'm going to put it on pause, guys. We're going to put in I believe it's a 12 millimeter lens, and we're going to pick up this survey with a 12 millimeters. It should be at least twice as close. Hang with me. Okay, guys, we're back with a slither, slither, and I'm using a 12 millimeter lens on this camera right now. What preceded was a 25 millimeter, and you should see that we're quite at least twice as close. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a survey of the moon with this, and that's the wind blowing, guys, with this 12 millimeter lens. What makes this camera so unique is that you can use regular lenses with it. I'm going to take my time just kind of working my way down this shadow line so we can look for things. Yes, I think that there's life on the moon, lots of different kinds of life. Probably Americans and Russians, but mostly what I think are fallen angels with spaceships, flying saucers, all kinds of weird stuff. I believe in all that crazy stuff. Now this is a kind of an interesting crater, if I may say so. It has a crater within a crater right there, and we've seen this one before, but it has 1, 2, 3, 4 little craters right along the rim of the crater. And maybe we can get a better picture of that. Let me see if I can focus that a little bit better. I have a focus, remote focus on this telescope, so I can focus everything. And let me try autofocus. It's just, I don't think it's going to be. Let me turn autofocus on just to see what happens. See how it jumped in and out? We'll leave it on for just a minute and see how it goes. See how it went, ooh, in and out. And you can see, I mean, it actually is getting, see all the granularity on the surface of the moon that you didn't see before, because it really is in focus. See that right there? It does move in and out. But it gives you, it is getting in better focus. I'll leave it like that for just a minute. Like I said, you're experiencing your guinea pigs. Your experience, your guinea pigs. I'm still experimenting with this camera. Now let's just sit on this for a minute with the autofocus on and see it going in and out. That's where it's tripping. The atmospherics being what they are, it's trying to focus on. And I'm going to turn autofocus off right now. Okay. It seems like when we have more extreme atmospherics, the autofocus will be kicking in and out more and more and more. And what, quite frankly, with the wind blowing as it is a little bit, I'll leave autofocus off for right now. But this does interest me. This is an interesting mountain range pockmarked with craters. and quite a bit of detail. Now I'm using a 12 millimeter lens. I'll be able to get in twice as close as what I'm showing you right now. Now let me show you. That was my screw up. I'm going to see this area right in here. Now if I turn autofocus on, let's see if it brings it in better. It did bring it in better. See how it kind of adjusted, and it's just clear. I'm going to leave autofocus on for right now. If this is the first time that you've joined me on my surveys of the moon, I do try to get out every night and basically look for anything that is strange or abnormal. I'm looking for strangeness on the moon. Yeah, I'm looking for UFO. I'm looking for flying saucers, guys. For sure I am. And I'm also looking for structures and anything else that might be abnormal. I believe that there's life on the moon, and if it's up there, I want to find it. And you can see the waviness that you see there. That's what I call atmospherics. And we've had a cold front come down here over the last couple of days. Autofocus is off right now. I'm going to turn it on. And you can tell when I turned it on, it does jump a little bit, but it did fine-tune the focus. So the autofocus does work, believe it or not, with this camera. It's amazing. I found that the latitude of control on the zoom, yeah, this camera does have a zoom, varies by lens. Wind, guys, wind. And let's do this. Let's just zoom in right there on that area. 1, 2, 3, 4. See, I don't have very much latitude with this lens. With a 5 millimeter lens, I have 8 ranges of zoom, which is amazing. As I was saying when I started out, this camera, with the way I have it set up with these, let me look at the slither. I like to look at the slither. This camera, by the way, the early moon like this, Gibbons waning, we got a weird word for it. This is a Halloween moon, guys. And it's not as bright as it will be in a couple days, so I believe my images are going to get so much better in quality with this camera. The brighter the moon, the better the images. And there's my ferret. And I hope that I'll be able to experiment with Barlow's even when I do get. And you can almost see the canyons off that sea. when it's in a first quarter, the moon is not capturing as much light from the sun, so it's not quite as bright. And you can see it's kind of a chocolate color. But always, whenever you're up against the shadow line, you're going to get a more contrasty image. By the way, I've seen some spectacular videos of UFOs on the moon that shows UFOs fluttering over craters and dipping into the craters and creating dust storms and all kinds of stuff. So that gives me great hope that eventually I'm going to be able to show you some unique things on the moon. If I come up here, my theory is if I come up here every day, I will see things on the moon. Okay, I'm going to pause it now. This is a 12 millimeter lens. It's almost completely dark. As you can see, it's a darker sky. I am going to put in a 5 millimeter, and we're going to see what we can do with this. So hang on, guys. Hang with me. Okay, I didn't move the telescope, and you can see it. This is a 5, and let me move it over to the you can see it's quite a bit closer. It's quite a bit closer. And let me now try to put it in focus. Let me bring it over where I have more of the moon, and now try to focus it. And now let me try to turn the autofocus on. You can see the waves. Let me work my way down. First of all, let me zoom out. You're guinea pigs, guys. I'm learning with this, and you're kind of learning with me. This thing has a zoom. If I get it too far, you can see this little tunnel. So the trick is you want to get it in far enough to where the tunnel doesn't appear, and that's about right there. And this moon right here now is probably as you should see it through this lens, but I have, even with it the way it is right now, I can zoom in 8 times. But let's work our way down. Now, we were looking at this crater just a little bit ago. This is a good thing to try to zoom in on. Let's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Just pretty hard to tell what it is, and it's not focusing. It's just there's not quite enough light. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, we'll leave it like that for right now. We'll get a little bit more light down below. We'll try to zoom in on something. I do have autofocus turned on right now. Again, this is a 5 millimeter lens. And I've talked to astronomers who say it's hard to even use a 5 millimeter lens. Well, it's doing pretty good, actually. We do see the atmospherics affecting the image, but we can see uh, the detail. It is moving in and out of focus, but I mean, so it goes. This camera does have a zoom and autofocus, and of course the cleaner the signal, I mean, with the most light, uh, and everything else, you're going to get a better quality picture. Let's do this. Let's see that area right there. Let's try to zoom in on that and see if we can get closer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you can see the atmospherics are just not working to our advantage right now. And there is some wind. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. See, I'm hoping if I am consistent enough with these surveys every night that we will together see some strange things. Maybe a flying saucer or a spaceship will pop up out of a crater. You say, well, Bill, I don't believe in that kind of stuff. Well, I do. I mean, I definitely do, and I've seen them. Um, I have a number of videos where, let's just camp on this for a second. I have a number of videos where I've seen what I call UFOs on the moon. People are calling bugs and aircraft and bats and birds. And this telescope that I'm using is called a Smith-Carradine telescope. It's a Celestron Nexstar 8 SE, and you can put your hand right in front of the telescope and you'd never see anything. You'll see a clear image. The other night I was looking through the trees at, there's a ferret. See the eyes? That give you an idea how close we are. Matter of fact, let's do this. Let's go to the ferret whiskers and zoom in, just for the grins. And I was looking at the moon through trees and leaves and everything else, and you could hardly see it just looking, but the moon was clear as a crystal bell on my screen. That's why I personally believe it's impossible for me to see a bat or a bug or anything else on my screen. And what you're looking at are shadows on the moon. Some people say, well, no, they're not shadows, they're ice clouds. Well, look at that. Just the atmospherics are just a little bit too tough for us right now. We're going to back out. Back out on the zoom. I had a friend of mine in Great Britain who analyzed one of my videos and did a it's kind of like I had one of these shadows on the moon coming in, going across. He did a slow-mo on it, and it went like this, and when the shadow came to the mountain, it went doop, doop, you know. In other words, you could see the shadow contouring the mountain range on the moon, and that tells you that it's a shadow of something's flying above the surface of the moon. That's why I think that these things that I'm seeing are shadows on the surface of the moon. Okay, let me turn autofocus off now and try to get as good a picture as we possibly can. You can see the moon is not ideal tonight. As a matter of fact, as it goes, if you're looking at the moon on nights that aren't as good as they would otherwise be, you'll find that your choice of lenses, I mean the larger lenses will look better than the smaller ones. Like this is a 5mm. When I finish this survey, I'm going to put the 25mm back in. Let me try to focus that again better. You can see that the atmospherics are just, some of you are saying, what are atmospherics, Bill? Well, they're convection currents in the atmosphere, like in the ionosphere. Okay, now what I want to do is turn the autofocus on and see what it can do with this right here. See how it's jumping in and out, trying to focus it. But you can see the movement. That's the atmospherics, guys. That's not the wind right there. That's the atmospherics. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish it up with the 25, and then you'll be able to see the difference between the 25 and the 5. This is typically the worst type kind of the worst time of the month for doing the moon, because the moon is just only in the air for about an hour, and it's usually got all kinds of problems because of atmospherics. But at least we're getting in a survey and keeping our eyes on the moon to see if there's anything up there. Hang with me, and I'm going to finish it up with a broad sweep on the 25. Okay, I'm back and got the 25 back in there. You can see the difference. As the atmospherics are real bad, the closer you get, the more jumpy it is, and the more difficult it is to keep it in focus. See, I moved back to a 25, and now I have a lot of stability. I'll give you a good example. This telescope is a 8-inch. It's an 8-inch Schmidt-Caradon. It's one of those stubby little telescopes. Well, my friend Henning, he's got a 4.5 or a 5-inch telescope. Now, if you look at his pictures, sometimes his pictures are clearer than mine. And the reason is because he's not getting quite as close as what I am. And when I do get close, it moves around and jumps around like I just showed you. This is the example where I'm on a 25, and that's a nice thing with this camera that I'm using. The downside is this camera seems to work best with these Astro-Tech lenses. For example, when I got my telescope, I had a 32mm that I just haven't been able to get to work. Isn't that beautiful, guys? I mean, that is just beautiful, beautiful. And I hadn't been able to get that 32 to work. Let's camp on this for just a minute while I'm talking. For example, another one that I haven't tried. I was going to try it tonight, but I have a Zoomel. That's the wind. I have a Zoomel 3mm lens that should get us not quite twice as close as the 5. But I was having such a problem with the 5 tonight that I decided I wasn't going to try that even. I have about 10 more minutes of moon with this particular layout the way I am here on my porch observatory. It runs into the house. The eaves of the house caress the moon as the night wanes on. How's that for poetic? Uh, but what I have, my advantage here is as the month wears on, I can see the moon coming up in the east and staying up in the sky, and I can follow it as it goes high, and I can get some pretty good pictures of the moon uh, later on. And as the moon goes higher in the sky, isn't that beautiful? As the moon goes higher in the sky, it seems to me that we have less atmospherics to fight with. And the less atmospherics we have to fight, the clearer the image will get. So check with me every once in a while. I'm trying to get on the moon every evening, and as I can. And some evenings are better than others. See that jumping in and out? Whoop whoop. That's the autofocus again. I have autofocus turned on right now. I think it gives us a better image. And I'm going to close it right there. That's a good spot on the ferret. Hope you guys have a terrific week and a very, very happy Halloween. In the meantime, I wish you and yours clear skies, guys.